Hey guys, I'm Angela and welcome back to Hobby Night. This week, we're traveling to a galaxy far, far away to paint something a little less grimdark. Because you see, I have these Mandalorians from Star Wars Legion, and I'm going to be painting up one of them inspired by Sabine Wren. I'm really excited for this week because last week when I talked about all the other war games that I had access to at the game store that I worked at, you guys seemed to really gravitate towards the Star Wars Legion stuff. And I've been getting hugely into Star Wars. I watched all of Rebels through quarantine. I finished up what I hadn't watched of Clone Wars during that time as well. And then I watched both seasons of The Mandalorian. I watched the Solo show or the movie recently, and I'm watching Bad Batch right now, which I'm absolutely loving it. So I'm really vibing with all of the Star Wars stuff. So when everybody expressed a lot of interest in seeing me paint something from Legion, I was like, sweet, I have an excuse now. I've been picking up some of the models. I actually have the Clone Wars starter set as well as a variety of just characters that I've really liked from the shows because I was like, oh, cool. You know, Callus has a model, let me grab that. Rex has a model, I want that, I really like him too. I
can't believe Callus has a model.
I know, it's great, I absolutely love it. So when I saw that House Wren had a full box set that came with a couple of different models, I was like, this is perfect. I've really been digging the Mandalorian stuff. I absolutely love Sabine in Rebels. I think she's fantastic. I love that she has the artistic side to her. That really spoke to me as not only, a girl, because she's she's a lady and everything, but I was an art kid. I went to art college. I loved her character in the show. So I wanted to take this opportunity to not only paint something not 40K, but also to try my hand at a little bit of freehand, play around with some colors, and do some interesting designs on a model that I really haven't worked with before. So let's go ahead and get to the priming stage where we're gonna do a little bit of a zenithal, and then we're gonna get painting our Mandalorian model. I debated on what I was going to do for the spray prime, because originally I was just going to do a pure Wraithbone spray prime, because I am planning on using some contrast paint on this model. However, I was talking with the Chaos Cultists, and we ultimately decided a zenithal would help pop my shadows and highlights a little bit better, and probably work with my overall color scheme more. So that's what we did. We used a bit of Mechanicus gray first, and then did a heavy spray prime over top of that using Wraithbone to create our lovely zenithal. Now, let's go ahead and start putting some paint on it. And that first color that I'm going to be using is Skeleton Horde. I'm basically going to be applying this color in a single thin coat over the entire model, with the exception of the gun she's holding in her hand, as well as the cape she's got on her shoulder. Those we're gonna leave pure, but everything else is getting a coating of this color. I really associate Star Wars with a desert/cowboy theming, especially modernly because of shows like The Mandalorian, but also a lot of stuff ends up getting set on Tatooine. They end up going to a lot of sandy planets and everything. So I really wanted to kind of emphasize that and focus on it for this project, which is why we're going with the light colored armor instead of doing something a little bit more classic with the Beskar. I am really happy with how this is already starting to look. Once my first coat has dried, I'm gonna go back over the cloth bits with a second thin coat using Skeleton Horde just to deepen them a little bit, because I do want them to stand out a little bit differently from the armor, but still be very one-to-one so that they blend and it still feels a little camouflaged, even though we're going to be adding some bright colors that are going to completely basically be inefficient as camouflage. But I wanted the effect to sort of be there if they were to wash the paint off. And I absolutely love how this is looking. I think I've already said that. So let's go ahead and move on to some other colors. For the leathers, I'm going to use Dark Oath Flesh. I had debated between actually going with Agros Dune, but ultimately decided that that was going to be a little bit more yellow in the color palette than I really wanted. So the Dark Oath, which is a little bit more red, I think is going to complement with the color scheme, still be light enough that it's not going to detract or call too much attention to itself, and work really complementary with everything else that I'm going to be doing. I love the way that this is going. I definitely am going to be keeping this color scheme in mind for some Space Marines, because honestly, I'm really digging the direction it's going. Let's keep moving forward because I have a few more things that's going to complement it even more. Let's go. I wanted all the weapons that she had on her armor or that she was carrying on her person to stand out a little bit more than I traditionally saw in some of the designs from Fantasy Flight for a lot of their Legion miniatures. So for that, I'm going to be pulling out some Basilicanum Gray. The gun that she's holding in her hand that we left unpainted is going to be getting this color, as well as any of the attachments on her armor, where there might be like missile launchers or anything like that, is also going to be getting this color. The cool thing is because the ones on her armor were coated with some skeleton horde, I already have some minor differentiations in them to basically make them stand out and do a little bit of extra work for me without me actually having to do a lot of extra effort, which is one of the reasons I absolutely love contrast paint and working with it, because you can layer it super easily and create some really neat effects, and that is really showing up on this Mandalorian model in my opinion. Okay, so I'm about to start the freehand and start doing more of the color work on the model, but I'm really liking where she's at right now because the desert look that I'm going for is coming across beautifully. I love the bone look that I have on her armor. I had debated some colors for the leathers, but ultimately I'm really glad with what I decided on because it looks so natural and clean right now. I'm really hoping the color doesn't mess it up, but I think I've picked some good color options that I think are gonna go with this like bone coloring really nicely.
Can you show us the marine?
Yes, in fact I can. Okay. So I actually did some testing. Thank you for reminding me. So I was doing some testing on this Space Marine. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm using the new Orruk flesh color that came out for the Orruks and everything. And I'm going to be doing a trim of Uriel yellow, I think. But I'm also going to be putting in some purples and stuff. So I'm going to be playing with a bunch of colors that I really enjoy. I really like how this is looking. So I'm hoping it translates onto the Mandalorian armor really well. I'm super excited. Let's get into it. Hey guys, if you are enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button and let me know about it down in the comments. If you haven't already and you're wanting more content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for notifications. And then if you want even more hobby goodness, make sure to follow me on Instagram or Twitter at hobby_night. Now, let's go ahead and get back to the video. All right. We're moving on to playing with some color now. And the first color in my elaborate design that I want to be doing on this model is going to be Orruk Flesh, which is that new light green color tone that GW just came out with that came along with the Orruks for Age of Sigmar. I absolutely love it, but have not had an excuse to actually use it yet because it's not quite what I like to do for my Orruk Flesh. But with this sort of desert color scheme, I actually think it complements super well. And so it's going to be the dominant color in my design. And I'm going to be doing a bit of freehand here, which does have me a little bit nervous because I have not done freehand on a model pretty much ever when it comes to like doing line work and everything. I have done freehand on paper because I did go to college for art and I did a lot of like ink work and everything. So I'm fairly comfortable drawing lines. I'm just not used to working on a 3D surface. So this is a totally new experience for me, but was really fun. And I'm really happy with everything that I've come up with so far. There's a couple of other colors that I want to add to the design though, to really complement it and make it stand out. So let's go ahead and move on to those colors next. The green design work is looking spectacular, but it needs something to sort of help emphasize it. So for my next color for the design, I'm actually going to be using Zerus Purple, which I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly. I think I am. This is a really nice deep dark purple that I'm going to basically be using as kind of the shadows to my design. So it's going to be going below where I put a lot of the green line work, especially on some of the armor, especially on the helmet, the backpack, and then the knees. I also, though, want to use this color on her cape. I left that unpainted up till this point, and I really wanted to have this emphasis of the purple color tone because let's face it, it's me, it's my favorite color. I thought it would look really cool, and I don't get to paint in base color tones very often, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to do so and play around with a little bit of edge highlighting later. So with that purple down, we have one final color to add to this design before we can actually start wrapping this model up, doing some washes, and getting her base. Let's move on to that now. The final color for the design is going to be Uriel Yellow. This really, in my opinion, brings everything together. The bright pop of the yellow basically makes the green stand out a bit more. It complements beautifully with the purple tone because it literally is a complementary color to it. Plus, it ties in my inspiration, Sabine Wren, whose house color is yellow. So I had to add it in. It works so well. I love especially how the helmet and the backpack end up looking. It's really bright and bold, but still feels very definitively armor. Like it's going to still protect her and everything, but it's colorful and just fun. And I really absolutely loved it. Honestly, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to paint the Mandalorians first when you guys were excited about me painting something for Legion, because I was like, oh, well, I can just kind of copy what Sabine does and do something wild and have fun with it. And I got that exactly. I love this. I hope you guys do too. We do have some few more things that we need to do to this model. So let's keep going and wrap this up. First, I want to take care of the tip of the rocket on her backpack. I'm going to be using a little bit of Blood Angels Red, kind of like what I do for my Space Marines, where I like to put their weapons and have a little pop of color there. This just emphasizes it a little bit, and I really like the way that it looks, but it doesn't overemphasize it, which is the important part. Now, not only are we putting that red there, but I also was looking at the cape and going, I think some edge highlighting is due here. It's got these really beautiful sort of raised edges that are going to be very easy to work with. So for that, I'm actually going to be grabbing Genestealer Purple and applying this in a couple of coats because it's actually a very pale color tone. Actually putting it down, I thinned it and then had to layer it a couple times, just like Duncan said. And I got a really, really neat effect out of it. Now my cloak has a little bit more volume to it. It looks like there's a little bit more motion with those natural ripples that the sculpt has. It's gorgeous, and we can start washing the model now.
Ambush vlog.
Yeah! Oh my god. Well, I just finished basically all of the color work and everything, and I'm down to just needing to do the wash and then do the base. Base. I am so happy. I am actually so happy. The freehand, I had kind of an idea of what I wanted to do, but not specifically, and it ended up coming out amazing. I really like my color choices. That I did have planned. I just wasn't sure exactly how I was gonna layer it, but I'm so pleased. She's basically exactly what I had hoped. She looks like a bright pop of color with a desert background. I'm gonna do sort of a desert theming for the groundwork as well, so we'll get to that in a second. But I'm so happy with her. I can't wait to paint more of them because I have some ideas for like doing some other experimentation with some freehand, doing some other blocked out color work on them. Like this is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying painting these Star Wars Legion miniatures. And the first shade that I'm going to be applying is one that I've actually never used before, even though I think it's probably like the second most talked about Citadel wash that there is, and that is Seraphim Sepia. This is such a good color, you guys, and I don't know why I haven't used it up until this point. It complements the Skeleton Horde perfectly. It deepens it just enough to give it a little bit more like of a cohesive look. It smooths the colors down, adds a little bit of a dirt effect without it being super obvious, and just, it's so good. I absolutely love it. But then I was looking at it, I'm like, I don't want to put this color on the cape. So for the cape, I went ahead and pulled out some Druchii Violet. And I actually thinned this pretty heavily because I really did not want to lose too much of the work that I had just done on the edge highlighting with the Genestealer Purple. So we're going to thin it down, put a single coating on. It enhances just enough, and I really love the effect. So the model basically is done now. We just need to get her base, so let's move on to that next. I've talked a lot about how I wanted to have sort of a desert color scheme for her, so I figured I should probably put her on a desert schemed base. For that, I'm going to go back to my classic Death Guard basing scheme, and we're going to start with a little bit of Armageddon Dust. I'm going to put this on fairly liberally. I wanted to have a little bit of a dune effect, which I think I accomplished near the edges. It kind of got this little raised edge from how I end up putting the paint on and give it a little bit of texture, and I think it works. Once that is fully dry, I'm going to come back in and do a single coating of Agrath's Earthshade over top to basically darken and settle into any of the porous recesses that this texture paint creates. It works really, really well, but it does make it very, very dark. So to fix that, I'm going to go back over the model, or actually not the model, but the base, using a dry brush of Tyrant Skull, a very light one. And I'm going to be doing this in as many directions over the base as I possibly can to hit it from every angle and capture all of those raised edges. This gets it to where I want it to be, and now she is ready to be mounted onto the base and shown off in all of her glory. So let's go ahead and take a look at the final model. And here she is. What do you think? Do you think Sabine would be proud of the work that I did on this armor? I genuinely think that she would. I'm so stoked with how this model came out. I had an idea. I really wanted to do something a little bit different from what I had seen in a lot of photos for Legion, because I do find, much in the same way that like for the Space Marines, that people end up doing very like, all right, this is the house that I've chosen, so I'm going to strictly follow this color scheme. I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to play around with something a little bit different, and basically having this sort of desert color scheme, as well as taking inspiration from Sabine and doing something really like different with the armor and basically doing designs and colors on there and not necessarily worrying about whether or not it was going to camouflage her or actually work in like a real world situation. I found that a blast, and I would really encourage you to play around with that because I just had so much fun with it. I'm super into painting these, so if you guys enjoyed seeing me paint the Legion models, let me know because I would love to be painting some more. I definitely am going to finish up the rest of the clan and maybe do some other design works on some of the helmets and everything. Maybe even try doing some designs on the chest or whatever, because I know the example in the like how to build guide that Fantasy Flight gives you with the kit does actually give some examples of House Wren with all these other patterns and stuff on them. And doing some of those might be fun to maybe either copy or at least do something very similar. Because honestly, the Freehand, while nerve-wracking, was really cool to actually see come together and actually turn into a design. I didn't have a full actual plan when I went into this. I kind of just winged it as I went and did the green first and went, okay, I really like this concept with it. Where am I going to take it from there? And how am I going to accent it with the 2 additional colors? And I'm really pleased with it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I want to give an extra special thank you to my patrons for supporting us and allowing content like this to continue to be made. If you want to join them, you can find a link in the description below. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, dislike it if you didn't, and let me know what you thought in the comments like I've said, I think already. I've been Angela, you've been watching Hobby Night, and I'll see you guys next week with another painting video, and we'll see you later with some more news. I will talk to you then. Bye guys!
Wasn't awkward at all.
Nope, totally not awkward at all.